The film opens in a village called Berk, an old place known for its hunters and their pursuit of wild animals. But this village faces a grave problem: dragons. They attack the village constantly, hunting the animals the villagers rely on. But the villagers refuse to leave. They are Vikings, after all, known for their strength and stubborn resilience. And that's when we meet a boy named Hiccup, terrified of dragons, always running from them. Stoic, the village chief, orders him to stay inside. We see Stoic bravely charging at the dragon, while the Vikings fight back with their weapons, battling the dragons with all their might. Hiccup goes to see the blacksmith, Gobber. Deep down, Hiccup longs to join the fight and stand against the dragons himself. He sees a beautiful girl fighting in the battle. Her name is Astrid. Hiccup wishes he could slay a dragon, hoping that Astrid might finally notice him. But Gobber tells him, "You can't join the fight. You're too weak. You can't even lift a hammer. The best you can do is sharpen swords." Hiccup feels discouraged and says, "One day I'll go out and fight dragons. That's the most important thing in the village." Suddenly, the Night Fury dragon attacks the village. It's the most powerful dragon of them all, never seen up close before. It always strikes from a distance and never misses its target. Hiccup desperately wants to be the first person to kill the Night Fury. He takes advantage of Gobber leaving and grabs a weapon he built himself, determined to use it to take down the Night Fury. Indeed, Hiccup keeps watching the dragon in the sky, waiting for the right moment. He finally attacks with his weapon and, to his surprise, manages to hit and capture the Night Fury, bringing it down to the ground. Suddenly, another dragon appears behind Hiccup, chasing him and trying to burn him with fire. The dragon almost kills him, but Stoic intervenes just in time and attacks the dragon, saving Hiccup. Stoic lands several powerful blows on the dragon, forcing it to fly away. After that, the dragons leave the village, having stolen whatever animals they could get their claws on. We discovered that Stoic, the leader of the village, is actually Hiccup's father. He decides to punish Hiccup for taking part in the battle. Hiccup tells him, "I managed to hit the Night Fury." But Stoic doesn't believe him and silences him, saying, "I'm always busy trying to provide food for the village. You almost caused a disaster. I need you to listen to me and not get involved in any fight. Dragons. You're good at many things, except killing dragons." The dragons and Hiccup. Hiccup wasn't happy with what his father said and wanted to prove to everyone that he's not weak. Gobber takes him to leave. The villagers mock Hiccup because they don't believe he actually caught the Night Fury. Hiccup tells Gobber, "I did hit the dragon, but my father doesn't believe me or listen to me." Gobber tells him, "Your father just wants you to be yourself and not do things you're not good at." Hiccup rejects what he says and goes inside the house. After that, Stoic gathers the villagers and tells them, "We have to go out to sea and find the dragon's nest so we can get rid of them and stop them from attacking us again." But the villagers are afraid to go on such a mission, and they all refuse to join Stoic. So Stoic tells them, whoever stays in the village will have to look after Hiccup. At that moment, all the villagers agree to go with Stoic because nobody wants to take care of Hiccup. After that, Stoic asks Gobber, "What should I do with Hiccup?" Gobber advises him, saying, "We need to train him because you won't always be there to protect him. He has to rely on himself and learn how to fight dragons." After thinking about it, Stoic agrees to the idea. While Hiccup was out alone in the forest looking for the Night Fury dragon that fell there, he manages to find it and sees it lying on the ground, unable to move. He feels happy that he was able to catch the Night Fury and approaches it with a knife to kill it. But when he looks into its eyes, he feels sorry for it and changes his mind about killing it, deciding instead to set it free by cutting the ropes. As soon as the dragon is freed, it attacks Hiccup and could have killed him, but doesn't. We notice that the dragon flies away with difficulty, and Hiccup catches his breath after thinking he was about to die. When he gets home, his father surprises him and says, "I've decided you should learn to fight dragons," and gives him an axe to use for training. He tells him, "It's time for you to be like us." Hiccup is hesitant because he's afraid of dragons, especially after seeing the Night Fury up close. But he agrees to his father's orders. The next day, Hiccup joins his classmates for training. Gobber tells the students that behind these doors are several captive dragons, then releases a weak dragon called a Gronkel for them to try to fight. Gobber gives them instructions, emphasizing that the most important thing is to hold on to their shields because the shield is more important than the sword. The Gronkle manages to injure 2 students, so they are eliminated from the training. The rest of the students bang on their shields and make noise to distract the dragon. The Gronkle breathes fire at several other students and gets them out, leaving only Hiccup and Astrid, the girl Hiccup likes. The Gronkle was about to kill Hiccup, but Gobber saves him and tells him, "Hiccup, never trust any dragon because they always kill their prey." Then the dragon is taken back to its cage. After hearing that, Hiccup becomes curious about why the Night Fury refused to kill him. He searches for it again in the forest, following its tracks until he finds it unable to fly or leave the valley. Hiccup decides to draw the dragon and realizes that it can't fly because part of its tail is missing. Then he opens the dragon book to learn more about the Night Fury, but finds information on every dragon except the Night Fury because no one has encountered it before. The only thing written is that if you see this dragon, you should run immediately because it's extremely dangerous. If it finds you, you should either hide or pray you don't die. Meanwhile, Stoic and the Vikings went out to sea with their ships, searching for the dragon's nest. When they enter an area full of smoke, they are immediately attacked. At the same time, Hiccup participates in the training, but as usual, he is weak and scared and keeps running away. However, Astrid manages to attack the dragon and tells Hiccup to try to take it seriously and decide whether he will be a fighter or not. Then Hiccup goes to the valley to offer a fish to the Night Fury. But the Night Fury doesn't trust him because of the knife he's carrying, so Hiccup throws the knife away to prove he came in peace. The Night Fury trusts him, eats half the fish, and gives Hiccup the other half. Hiccup starts to like him while eating the fish. After a while, the Night Fury draws a path in the sand with a tree branch. When Hiccup walks along the path, he finds the dragon in front of him, wanting Hiccup to put out his hand and touch him, and the Night Fury allows Hiccup to touch him. After that, Hiccup spends the whole night making a sail for the Night Fury's broken tail. He manages to make it and decides to name the dragon Toothless. He gives him a basket full of fish. Hiccup realizes that the dragon is afraid of the eel, so he throws it away, and Toothless gets distracted by the fish and starts eating them. Hiccup takes the opportunity and attaches the sail to Toothless's tail. When Toothless feels that he can fly, he takes off without hesitation. Hiccup is riding on the dragon's tail, happy that his invention worked, but Toothless throws Hiccup into the water and tries to fly on his own and escape, but fails. Then Hiccup returns to training, and this time they face a dragon called the Zippleback. This dragon has 2 heads. One blows gas and the other blows fire. The student's task is to tell the difference between the 2 heads and spray water on the one that blows fire, but all the students fail. However, Hiccup uses a different trick and manages to force the Zippleback back into its cage. Everyone is surprised and doesn't understand how he did it. It turns out Hiccup scared the dragon with the eel, but he doesn't tell anyone his secret. Astrid, in particular, wants to know how he did it. After that, Hiccup makes a special seat to sit on when he rides Toothless. Toothless realizes that the tail's sail only works when Hiccup is riding him. Then they crash into some plants, and Hiccup sees that Toothless loves playing in the grass. He uses that idea the next day in training. Hiccup also discovers that when he scratches under Toothless's neck, Toothless falls asleep instantly. Hiccup uses the same trick during training. As a result, all the students start to like Hiccup and get closer to him. Hiccup keeps this up for a long time and manages to defeat many dragons. Astrid gets even more curious and jealous, and she starts to watch Hiccup's actions closely. As for Hiccup and Toothless, they became best friends. As days passed, Stoic and his fleet returned, defeated. Stoic told Gobber, "We couldn't even get close to the dragon's nest." But he was surprised to learn that the villagers had started to like Hiccup, and he was even more amazed when Gobber told him that Hiccup was now able to defeat many dragons. At the same time, Hiccup and Toothless were flying above the clouds. Hiccup was controlling the sail's movement, and they were practicing flying maneuvers, but then something goes wrong, and they get separated. Both Hiccup and Toothless start falling toward the ground, but Hiccup manages just in time to get back on Toothless's back and save them both at the last moment. They fly among the rocks and celebrate their success, then go to sit near the dragon's nest. Some small dragons appear, looking for fish to eat. Hiccup gives one of them a fish, and the dragon is happy and sits next to Hiccup. At that moment, Hiccup realizes that there are kind dragons. After that, Stoic meets Hiccup and tells him that he has been chosen to fight a Gronkle dragon in front of the whole village. If he wins, they will allow him to kill his first dragon. Stoic says he's excited to see Hiccup with the dragon's head on a spear. Stoic is very proud of his son and asks him to explain how he improved so suddenly, but Hiccup stays silent and refuses to tell him. Stoic then gives Hiccup a helmet to wear during the fight, saying, "This helmet belonged to your mother, and you deserve it." The next day in the arena, Hiccup and Astrid were fighting the Gronkle dragon. Astrid wanted to defeat it herself, but she was shocked when she saw Hiccup beat the dragon in seconds. The village elder then chose Hiccup to fight the Natter dragon the next day. This upset Hiccup because he didn't want to kill any dragon. He goes to Toothless, planning to take him and leave the village forever. But he's surprised to find Astrid there. She tells him she came to find out what's really going on because no one suddenly becomes that skilled so quickly. Astrid suspects he's been training with someone. Hiccup tries to distract her so she won't see Toothless, but she knocks him aside and is shocked when she sees Toothless. Toothless wants to attack her, but Hiccup stops him, calms him down, and says, "She's a friend of mine." But Astrid gets terrified and tries to run away, so Toothless grabs her and throws her onto a tree trunk. Hiccup asks her to give him a chance to explain everything and asks her to ride with him on the dragon's back. She agrees, gets on behind him, and Toothless flies them far away. Astrid stops being afraid and starts enjoying the view. Hiccup feels happy when she hugs him, but by accident, they fly into the smoke and end up at the dragon's nest, where they see a huge number of dragons around them. Each of the dragons was carrying the prey it had caught. Toothless flew with them until they reached a strange place inside the mountain. All the dragons were throwing their prey into a deep pit. It turned out that in this pit was a giant dragon called the Red Death. All the food thrown in was for the Red Death, and if it didn't eat, it would eat the other dragons instead. This made it clear that the dragons were forced to attack the village and steal food in order to feed the Red Death and stay alive themselves. The Red Death dragon smelled the humans and almost attacked them, but Hiccup and Astrid managed to escape. Astrid wanted to tell Stoic everything she had seen, but Hiccup stopped her because if the Vikings found out, they would kill Toothless. Astrid was surprised and said, "We've discovered the dragon's nest, and you want to hide it just to protect your pet dragon." Hiccup said yes and asked her to let him think until tomorrow to find a solution. She agreed, told him she admired him, and left. The next day, the whole village gathers to watch Hiccup kill his first dragon. Stoic says, 2 weeks ago, if someone had told me my son would come first in training, I wouldn't have believed it. I'm very proud of what he has achieved, and from today, he'll become a Viking warrior like all of us. Hiccup hears all this and says to Astrid, "I want to stop all these wrong traditions." Then he enters the arena and stands in front of the Natter dragon. Suddenly, Hiccup throws away his shield and sword and tries to calm the dragon because he doesn't want to kill it. He takes off his helmet and says, "I'm not like the other Vikings." Everyone is shocked. Stoic gets furious and strikes his hammer on the metal, making the dragon feel threatened, so it tries to attack Hiccup. Astrid jumps in to defend Hiccup but fails. At that moment, Toothless hears Hiccup's screams and struggles to break free and fly to save him. The Natter dragon is about to kill Hiccup, but Toothless arrives just in time and rescues him, fighting off the Natter. The Natter gets scared of Toothless and runs away, but then the Vikings intervene to attack Toothless. Toothless tries to keep them away, and Stoic steps in to fight him. Toothless almost attacks Stoic, but Hiccup stops him. The Vikings then take the opportunity to capture Toothless. Stoic talks to his son alone and says, "You turned out to be a liar." Hiccup apologizes and asks him to take out his anger on him, but not to hurt Toothless. Stoic gets angrier, feeling that Hiccup only cares about the dragon. He tells him, "The dragons have killed hundreds of our people." Hiccup replies, "And we have killed thousands of dragons." Hiccup starts to explain that the dragons were forced to steal their animals to feed a giant dragon. From what Hiccup says, Stoic realizes that he found the dragon's nest and asks him, "How did you get there?" Hiccup replies, "Toothless took me there." So Stoic decides to use Toothless to lead him to the dragon's nest. Hiccup wanted to stop his father because he knew it was a dangerous battle, but Stoic pushed him aside and decided to disown him, saying, "You are not my son. All the ships are prepared, and they have Toothless with them." Hiccup looks at him, feeling powerless to do anything. Then, as the ship set off, Astrid comes to comfort Hiccup and asks him, "Why didn't you kill Toothless when you saw him in the forest?" He replies, "When I looked into his eyes, I couldn't kill him." I felt like he was just like me." She asks him, "What are you going to do to save him?" He replies, "I have an idea," and runs off to his friends who trained with him. Hiccup lets the dragons out of their cages and teaches his friends how to bond with them. Meanwhile, Stoic is following the directions Toothless looks, and this way he's able to find the dragon's nest. They attack the mountain with their weapons, then throw a flaming ball into the middle of the dragons, causing them to panic and fly away. The Vikings think they've won and start celebrating, but Stoic feels that it can't be that simple. The giant red dragon wakes up and starts destroying the mountain. The Vikings panic and retreat, while Stoic and Gobber are shocked by the dragon's size. The Vikings attack it, but nothing affects it, and it breathes fire, destroying all the ships. Stoic and Gobber decide to distract the dragon so the Vikings can escape, but the dragon almost eats them. At that moment, Hiccup and his friends arrive on their dragons. Hiccup's friends distract the dragon while Hiccup goes to free Toothless from the fire. But after a while, Hiccup's friends lose control of their dragons, and the red dragon swings its tail at the ships. Hiccup and Toothless fall into the water, and Hiccup loses consciousness, but his father saves him. Then Stoic goes down to free Toothless. Toothless makes it to land, and Hiccup gets back on his back. Stoic apologizes to Hiccup for everything and tells him he doesn't have to fight the dragon, but Hiccup replies, "On the contrary, we're Vikings. This is what our lives are all about." Stoic tells him, "I'm proud that you're my son." After that, Hiccup's friends get back on the dragons. The red dragon is about to eat Astrid, but Toothless hits it with a powerful blow and rescues Astrid as she falls, bringing her safely to land. Hiccup comes up with an idea to defeat the dragon and has Toothless hit it again. This makes the red dragon even angrier, so it chases after Toothless. Hiccup is happy because his plan worked, and he gets Toothless to fly as high as possible. The red dragon can't find them in the clouds, so Toothless uses the chance to strike it several times. The dragon grows furious, breathing fire wildly in all directions, which sets fire to the fin on Toothless's tail. The dragon chases them relentlessly, determined to kill them. Hiccup waits for the dragon to open its mouth, then makes Toothless blast fire into the gas in its throat. The red dragon explodes from the inside, crashes to the ground, and dies. But unfortunately, Toothless and Hiccup are struck in the tail, and Hiccup loses consciousness and falls into the fire. Toothless dives after him to save him. After the fire dies down, Stoic looks everywhere for his son but can't find him. He only finds Toothless alone, and everyone thinks Hiccup is dead. But it turns out that Toothless shielded Hiccup and saved him from death. He was alive, just unconscious. Stoic thanks Toothless for saving his son. After several hours, Hiccup wakes up at home with Toothless by his side, who is overjoyed that Hiccup is okay. Hiccup discovers that he lost his leg in the battle, and Gobber fitted him with a metal prosthetic. At first, Hiccup struggles to walk with it, but Toothless helps him. When Hiccup opens the door, he's surprised to see that dragons are now living peacefully with humans. Everyone comes to greet him. Astrid comes to check on him, and Gobber gives him a new sail to put on Toothless, which Hiccup installs. And so, Berk Village enters a new era of peace and friendship between humans and dragons. Hiccup and his friends fly together with their dragons. 5 years after the peace between humans and dragons, new sports emerge, like dragon riders competing to catch animals, with whoever collects the most animals in their basket winning the match. The village also now has special stables for the dragons and many services dedicated to them. We return to the Dragon Riders competition, where Stoic is cheering for Astrid to win, saying she'll be his future daughter-in-law. Astrid and her dragon Stormfly manage to win the match, and everyone congratulates her. As for Hiccup, he wasn't taking part in the competition. Instead, he was flying with Toothless, soaring high in the sky. Then, Hiccup separates from his dragon and falls from a great height, activating his newest invention, wings that let him glide like Toothless. The two of them fly together, but when Hiccup is about to crash into the rocks, Toothless catches him, and they land safely on the island. Hiccup takes off his helmet, and we see him more grown up, spending his days on adventures with Toothless, exploring new lands and islands. Hiccup draws these new places on his map, hoping to find more dragons living out there. Then Astrid arrives and asks why he didn't come to the competition that day. He tells her that he was avoiding his father because Stoic wants him to become the next chief of the village. But Hiccup isn't ready for that responsibility and doesn't think leading the village is for him. Astrid is actually happy about this news, telling him that becoming chief is a great honor. While they're talking, Hiccup notices smoke in the distance. They hop on their dragons and fly toward it to see what's going on. They're surprised to find a massive iceberg in the middle of the sea and wonder what could have happened here. Suddenly, some hunters throw a net over Astrid's dragon, Stormfly, and manage to capture her. Hiccup confronts the hunters with his flaming sword and talks to the dragon hunter called Eret. Eret thinks that Hiccup and Astrid caused the iceberg and destroyed their fort, accusing them and their friends of stealing the hunter's dragons. Hiccup and Astrid are confused, having no idea what he's talking about. Hiccup tells him, "We didn't steal any dragons, and we don't know any dragon that breathes ice like that." They're both surprised to learn that there are other riders besides themselves, since they thought they were the only people in the world who ride dragons. But Eret tells them that now it's time to capture the Night Fury, so he can hand it over to their leader, Drago, who is collecting dragons to take over the world. But Hiccup gets fed up with Eret and tells him, "We're leaving right now." Eret orders his men to attack them, but Toothless fires at the ice and blocks their way. Hiccup and Astrid free Stormfly and escape. Eret shouts after them that Drago will get his revenge. After that, Hiccup and Astrid return to the village. Hiccup hurriedly goes to his father and tells him what happened. At first, Stoic doesn't pay much attention to what he's saying, but he's shocked when Hiccup mentions Drago and his plan to build a dragon army and steal their dragons. It's clear that Stoic knows Drago well, and he immediately orders everyone in the village to lock up their dragons. No dragon is allowed to leave the village. Hiccup is surprised by his father's reaction and asks, "All this just because of Drago?" Stoic responds that Drago is a ruthless, crazy man with no conscience, and as long as he's building a dragon army, they're all in great danger. Hiccup suggests they should go talk to Drago and reason with him, but Stoic refuses, insisting that the best thing to do is fortify the village and prepare for war. Talking to Drago is pointless because he'll never change his mind. But Hiccup refuses to listen to his father. He takes Toothless and flies out quickly before the gates close. Astrid decides to follow him on her dragon and escapes as well. Both of them go to Eret's ship and surrender themselves. Eret is surprised by this, and Hiccup and Astrid allow themselves to be locked up. Eret asks Hiccup why he's surrendering, and Hiccup tells him that he wants to reach Drago at any cost and talk to him to change his mind about stealing dragons. Hiccup explains that once you earn a dragon's trust, the dragon will do anything for you. Eret refuses to believe Hiccup. Suddenly, Stoic and Gobber arrive with a group from the village to rescue Hiccup. They attack Eret's crew and mock him. Stoic orders Hiccup to come back to the village, but Hiccup refuses. Stoic insists, saying, "You can't change Drago's mind. He wants war." Stoic then explains to Hiccup how, long ago, he took part in a meeting of village chiefs to discuss the dragon crisis they were facing. Suddenly, Drago interrupted the meeting and claimed he had a way to control dragons and could protect them, but only if they all swore allegiance to him as their leader. Everyone at the meeting refused and laughed at him, so Drago decided to take revenge. Not long after, dragons attacked, and everyone at the meeting was killed except for Stoic. Stoic tells Hiccup, "That's why I'm worried about you. Drago is dangerous and you can't reason with him." But even so, Hiccup still wants to try talking to Drago. He takes Toothless and flies off. Stoic gets angry at Hiccup's stubbornness, and when Astrid tries to follow Hiccup, Stoic stops her and orders her to stay behind. Hiccup and Toothless are flying in the sky when suddenly a mysterious masked person appears next to them, riding a dragon. At first, Hiccup and Toothless are worried and get distracted by the stranger. Then, another dragon appears and snatches Hiccup away, causing Toothless to fall onto the ice below. Because Toothless can't fly without Hiccup, he's unable to save him. Soon, some aquatic dragons appear, take Toothless, and disappear with him. The dragons who kidnapped Hiccup take him to an icy mountain and enter the mountain through an opening. Hiccup is scared of these dragons, so he draws his sword to defend himself and tries to scare them off and keep them away from him. The masked person intervenes and tells the dragons to bring Toothless. Hiccup is relieved to see Toothless is safe. We see that the masked person can control the dragons, and they obey her. Then, she approaches Hiccup, notices the scar on his chin, and removes her mask. It turns out she's a woman, and she says, "I can't believe, after all these years, I'm seeing you again." So Hiccup asks her, "Who are you?" She replies, "It's not your fault you don't know me. I left when you were just a baby." It turns out that she is Valka, Hiccup's mother, and Hiccup is completely shocked. At the same time, Stoic and Gobber are searching for Hiccup. They find the hole where Toothless fell, so Stoic goes down and discovers Hiccup's helmet. This makes him worried, thinking his son is in danger. He lets his dragon smell the helmet so it can follow Hiccup's scent. Meanwhile, we return to Hiccup, who is still in shock. She takes Hiccup inside the mountain, where he sees a place full of dragons living together. He asks her where she's been all this time, and she tells him she's been here for 20 years. Hiccup is amazed by the place. Valka is also impressed by Toothless, plays with him, and tells Hiccup that Toothless is about 20 years old, just like Hiccup, and he's probably the last of his kind. She explains that Drago and the dragon hunters have hurt many dragons, and she looks after and protects them here. Hiccup tells her that he also rescued Toothless in the forest and even built him a prosthetic tail fin. Valka is surprised that his father allowed him to have a dragon, so Hiccup explains that he managed to change his dad's and the whole village's view about dragons, and now everyone in the village has a dragon. Hearing that makes Valka very happy, and she says she once tried to convince Stoic that they could live in peace with dragons, but he refused. She then tells him a story from the past. A dragon once broke into their house when Hiccup was a baby. She rushed in to protect him but found the dragon playing with him instead. At that moment, she realized dragons were gentle creatures. The dragon accidentally gave Hiccup the scar on his face, and when Valka looked into the dragon's eyes, she felt a deep connection and just couldn't bring herself to hurt it, just like Hiccup. But then Stoic intervened and attacked the dragon, which took Valka and flew away with her. Ever since that day, Valka never returned home or saw her family. She spent the next 20 years living among the dragons. Valka continues and tells Hiccup that this entire place is the home of a giant dragon called the Alpha. The Alpha is a very rare type of dragon with the ability to control all other dragons using sound waves. He's the one who breathes ice from his mouth and created the ice mountain they live in. Thanks to him, all the dragons here live together in peace and harmony. Meanwhile, Astrid and the others are really worried about Hiccup. They suspect that Drago has kidnapped him, so Astrid kidnaps Aret, flies away with him, and orders him to take them to Drago's location, or she'll drop him. Aret refuses at first, so Astrid actually lets him go, and as he's falling, he quickly agrees to help them find Drago. Astrid then saves him just in time. After that, Hiccup and Valka go out of the mountain accompanied by many dragons. The alpha dragon rises from the water and brings out a huge amount of fish for everyone. All the dragons start eating, including Toothless. Hiccup marks this land on his map. Valka is amazed when she sees that Hiccup can fly using the wings he built for himself. At one point, Hiccup almost crashes into the rocks, but Toothless saves him just in time. Valka rushes to check on her son, promises she'll never leave him again, asks for his forgiveness, and tells him she'll teach him everything she knows about dragons. The first thing Valka teaches Hiccup is that he can make sensory spines come out of Toothless's back, a secret even Toothless didn't know about. She tells him, "You inherited your love for dragons from me. Together, we'll discover even more dragons because our shared love for them connects us. We're going to make the world a safe place for all dragons." Then, she hugs her son. We return to Astrid and her friends as Aret leads them to Drago's location. Astrid sneaks closer and sees from a distance that Drago is hiding a very powerful dragon underwater. Suddenly, Drago's men appear and tranquilize all the dragons, with Astrid and the riders capturing them and taking them to Drago. One of the dragons wakes up from the tranquilizer and struggles to break free. Drago orders his men to let the dragon go, then stands in front of it, blocking its fire with his jacket, because his jacket is made from dragon skin. Drago then yells at the dragon, intimidating it until he forces it to kneel before him. Aret pretends that he deliberately brought Astrid and her friends to Drago. He tells Drago that their village has many dragons. Astrid steps in and tells Drago that Hiccup will come with a lot of dragons and save them because Hiccup is the greatest dragon rider and he rides the Night Fury. She warns Drago that Hiccup will destroy his fortress. Drago is surprised to learn that all of these people are dragon riders, so he decides to make a plan to attack the ice mountain and defeat the alpha dragon first. After that, he'll attack Berk village. He orders his men to kill Eret, but Stormfly, Astrid's dragon, intervenes and saves Eret, but doesn't last long because Drago's men tranquilize her. At that moment, Eret decides to team up with Astrid and her friends. Drago's men decide to throw Eret and Astrid into the water, but suddenly Eret fights back, frees himself, and manages to tranquilize all of Drago's men, defeating them. He rescues Astrid and her friends, then goes to free their dragons. We return to Hiccup, who is getting ready to leave and search for Drago, but suddenly Stoic arrives and takes him aside to leave the place. Hiccup tries to stop him to tell him that his mother is still alive, but Stoic is shocked to see her standing there. He can't believe his eyes. Valka tells him, "You must be upset with me for leaving you and our son all these years, but I couldn't live in Berk because no one wanted to stop fighting dragons. I admit I made a mistake by leaving you to raise our son alone." Stoic gently approaches Valka, offering her understanding instead of blame, reminding her she's as beautiful as ever. He's overjoyed, relieved, just to find she's alive. Together, Hiccup and Stoic start telling Valka all about the past 5 years, filling her in on the world she's missed. Then, in a quiet moment, Stoic begins to sing to Valka, promising that nothing will ever keep them apart again. They dance, overwhelmed by happiness and lost in each other. At last, Stoic asks Valka to come home with him, to be a family once more. With a hopeful smile, she agrees. But all that happiness shatters in an instant. The dragons, terrified, scatter into the sky as the icy mountain is attacked. Drago's army has arrived. Valka, furious, rushes to warn the alpha dragon. Meanwhile, Astrid and the other riders arrive on their dragons just as a massive battle erupts between Drago's forces and the dragons of the ice mountain. Drago's army is ready, armed with clever traps, and they begin capturing the dragons one by one. But Astrid and her friends fight back, breaking the traps, rescuing the dragons, and turning the tide of the battle. Hiccup and Toothless soar into the fray, quickly gaining the upper hand against Drago's army. Valka appears atop her dragon, joined moments later by the great alpha dragon itself. Drago's eyes light up. This is exactly what he's been waiting for. He unveils his own dragon, a massive black alpha just as mighty as the white one. The battlefield shifts as Drago's black alpha unleashes its terrifying power. Chaos erupts. Drago goes after Valka, nearly taking her down, but Stoic charges in just in time, saving her from certain death. The epic clash between the two alphas, the black and the white, becomes the center of the conflict. Meanwhile, Stoic and Drago go head-to-head in fierce combat. At first, the alphas seem evenly matched, but the black alpha soon overpowers its rival. With a thunderous roar, it sends out sound waves, seizing control over every dragon on the field. Drago orders the dragons to kill everyone, but Hiccup stands and talks to Drago, asking him, "What will you gain from all this?" Dragons are good creatures, and they can live with humans. Drago then shows him that his arm was lost because of dragons. Dragons attacked my village, killed my family, and destroyed my home. Since then, my goal has been to free the world from dragons. I want to gather all the dragons so I can kill them. Hiccup tells him that humans and dragons live together in peace in his village, and says, "Let me show you my village so you can believe me." But the crazed Drago refuses and forces the alpha dragon to control Toothless. At first, Toothless resists as much as he can, but in the end he falls under the alpha's control, and Drago orders him to kill Hiccup. Toothless almost kills him, but Stoic intervenes and takes the hit for his son. Drago doesn't care who died and leaves. Unfortunately, Stoic dies, and Hiccup goes mad with grief, refusing to believe what happened. Toothless regains his senses and goes to check on Stoic, but Hiccup yells at him, pushes him away, and orders him to leave. The alpha dragon gathers all the dragons and makes them follow it. Toothless tries to escape, but Drago catches him and brings him back under the alpha's control. Drago now heads to Berk to take control of the dragons there. After that, Stoic is buried at sea, and they hold a funeral to say goodbye to their great chief. Hiccup is filled with regret over his father's death, and his mother comes to comfort him, telling him that Toothless wasn't to blame because he wasn't in control of himself. She tells him that his father wanted him to be chief, and that he's the only one who can unite the human and dragon armies. Encouraged by his mother's words, Hiccup says he never wanted to be like his father because he thought no one could ever be that great or brave. But from today, he will try to be like him, and now he is the chief who will protect his village. He tells his friends, "We're going to save our village," and they ride the baby dragons and fly there. It turns out the baby dragons aren't under the Alpha's control. Meanwhile, Drago reaches Berk and takes control of all the dragons in the village. Drago tells the villagers that their chief is dead and no one can protect them now. But Hiccup and his friends arrive, and Hiccup orders his friends to distract the Alpha, and they do. Hiccup goes to talk to Toothless, who Drago is riding. Hiccup apologizes to Toothless for how he spoke to him, telling him, "You're my best friend," and puts his hand on his head. In that moment, Toothless breaks free from the Alpha's control, throws Drago off and falls too, but Hiccup jumps after him, manages to reach him, and covers his eyes so the Alpha can't control him. After that, they dodge the Alpha's ice attack. Hiccup separates from Toothless, sprays the gas from his sword, and causes a huge explosion. Hiccup stands in front of Drago to confront him, but the Alpha attacks Hiccup with ice, and everyone thinks Hiccup is frozen and dead. But then the ice explodes, and Toothless appears with Hiccup inside. Toothless launches several attacks on the Alpha Dragon, showing his incredible power. At that moment, all the dragons break free from the Alpha's control and join Toothless. Hiccup tells Drago, "You should surrender," but Drago, full of pride, refuses. So all the dragons launch a fierce attack on the Alpha, and Toothless delivers the final blow, breaking the Alpha's horn. Drago decides to withdraw with the Alpha and admits his defeat. Everyone cheers for Chief Hiccup and celebrates the victory. All the dragons bow to Toothless and consider him the new Alpha Dragon. Hiccup thanks Toothless and they play together. Each villager is reunited with their own dragon. Hiccup lets Eret take Skull Crusher, which was Stoic's dragon. Eret thanks him and says it's a great honor. The village elder announces that Hiccup is the new chief. Everything returns to normal, and they build a statue for Stoic. And that brings us to the end of the first two parts of the How to Train Your Dragon movie series. Stay tuned for a summary of the third part. Don't forget to hit the like button and help us reach 10,000 likes on this episode. If you made it to the end of the episode, I want you to put the dragon emoji in the comments so I know who enjoyed the episode. Bye-bye.
Subscribe.